Are we back? We back? Question? Alright. Good. Anyway. Can't remember if my mouse is MX or X. I usually go with MX, so I'll just write it in. We'll see. And Y. Correct. Gonna have to go right, hit check. So if the mouse is being held and we're inside the box, what I want to do is I want to say, take the X, which is going to be mouse MX, and we're going to unlerp that. So that's X minus rect X0 divided by rect X1 minus rect X0. And then we need to relerp into V, basically. Low, scale, high. So that changes V. Now what we can do to be really clever is the following. Purposely drifting is asking if this can parse Jai or if I intend for it to parse Jai. It can't right now. I'm not at all working with Jonathan Blow. I can't remember when I mentioned it. I might have just mentioned that when I can, I want to add Jai to the list of things that this can do. I mean, if it's necessary. It's something I've been thinking about a lot, is a lot of the things that the language Jai does is solving very similar problems to what I'm solving, but it's solving them at the language level, which might be better than solving them at the editor level. There are a few things that this editor solves for any language, so on that level it'll work. But I don't think until I get more experience with using Jai that I would know what kind of high-level features I want in that language. Because for the most part, the high-level language features, or the high-level features, that I'm adding for C and C++ aren't really necessary in Jai because it just doesn't have it doesn't have the same set of problems. Like there are, I mean, even things like the defer. In this I have an idea where maybe you add something that helps you to make sure your code cleans itself up, right? So it does sanity checks in your code at some point, but if you have a defer statement in your language, that's a much easier way of doing that. So there's sort of trade-offs. I think, on the other hand, I think having the ability to do the using is extremely useful in Jai, but I think over time there might be, it might be if your editor can give you the same amount of flexibility in a less flexible language, there might be benefits to that. So I'm not totally sure. I'm curious to see how it plays out because it solves a lot of the same problems that I am thinking about. Okay, so this should be able to work. Of course, there are certain things Jai fixes that this doesn't even come close to fixing, like the allocator and stuff. Okay, looks like MX and Y are not available. So we'll try XMine. And I need to do a quick let's see. Oops. $151. There we go. Alright, let's see if we can tweak this stuff. I'm not getting... Could be a problem in my Win32 layer even, but I'm not getting anything. So I'm gonna go into debug mode real quick. We're gonna look at this one. I've gotten a lot farther this time than I did last time on the tree problem, so that's nice. I've had less issues with 4coder now that the whole alt problem is resolved. Okay, so that's definitely not happening. So what I'm going to do is put a breakpoint here and put a hit count on it. Don't care about that. Really? You got to... I guess it gets there quicker because there's 3 every frame. Let me put it up to like 300. Okay. So what are the values here? 18. Okay, is L down? No, so the mouse press isn't being detected, first of all. And I think I know exactly what that is. Okay, let's take a look at this Win32 layer again. I believe I did I tried something weird for my mouse presses and I never tested it, and it was the wrong way to do it. Yes. Oh, I have low-level keyboard hooks in this. I forgot about that. Let's get that out of there first of all. Yeah, this one is not the 4coder one. I played with, one of the things I used this area for was testing out how I was going to fix the ding problem. I think that's where I came up with the low-level keyboard thing. I totally forgot about that. Okay. Okay. Yeah, okay. So now we need to actually handle case WM mouse L button. Is that it? We'll have to check. doesn't have that in C also. Let's try some mouse stuff. Button down. WM button down. WML button down. There it is. MouseBud. Okay, L button down. Whoops, not Emacs. There we go. L button down. Okay. Okay, cool. Let's see if that is a little better. Oh. Oh no. So there's something else going on with that. Alright, I'm clearing the black every time, so that's got nothing to do with it. It looks like a double buffering problem. Am I not redrawing the screen every frame? Redraw screen. Yeah, Chronal Dragon, that is pretty trippy. It looks like a double buffering problem. It also looks like it's not actually clearing black correctly. 0001. Whew. What is that? What is the redraw screen function actually doing? GL flush, swap buffers. That seems right. Yeah, it's definitely not clearing old. It's just not clearing old stuff for some reason. Yeah, it looks weird like that when I'm holding my mouse down. Wait. Yeah, now it's doing the flickering thing again. Oh, man. What is that? Look at that's messed up too. Something about the clearing black or something. I don't know, because it's got something to do with the fact that when I swap buffers, I'm confused. buffers. Oh my, what? What's this? Okay, that's for screening it. I'm not screen editing all the time, am I? I shouldn't be. No. Okay. What is going wrong here, guys? What is it? All the rendering looks like it works. It's just a matter of the clear not working. Clear sets the bit plane area of the window to values previously selected by GeoClear color. Gotcha. Okay. That shows you how much I know about what I'm doing with OpenGL. See if this is a bit better. Ah, it's better. Whoa, hey Kalimian. Hello. I do not mind. We have some cool stuff going on over here. So look, that is, I think that is pretty cool. I'm not using L systems, by the way. I did research it though. But I'm not using L systems. I don't seem to have any luck in finding. A pattern where they don't collide with one another, though. So, Kalimian, the three sliders are the initial size of the branch, right? So it just sort of scales it. The size of subsequent branches. I guess if I make that small enough, I don't get collision. So that's really the trick there, isn't it? And if I make the angles tighter, it starts to collide again. Interesting. And this is the angle of the branches right now. Yeah, the middle one is how much, so it's how much it changes the length of the sub-branches. So this branch here is the same length as the trunk that created it, right? Whereas if I shrink it down a lot, right, you can get it all the way down to where it's just 0, and then at like 0.5, each branch is half the length of the branch that spawned it, and so on. Okay, so alright, you want to contrast your color. I can do that. One contrast your color coming up for Knuckles. What I want to do now is I want to put in an adjuster for the depth. And by that I mean, well, you'll see what I mean. No, I'm on the right one. Contrast your color. Where is the color set? Here it is. Let's up that. Did I do my math right there? Yeah, okay. No, that was a 3 and that was a 2. I added 2 to that. I have to add, okay, 1 minute. It's not half, it's 2 times 2 over 3. Get 1.3 repeating. Is that contrasty enough? Angle. Alright, so here's the thing. The other one is an int adjuster. That's why I set it aside. Let's see if we can make it work. We need a mouse. We need a value, a low and a high, and a rectangle. So a lot of it's going to be similar, but just in int world. Okay, so same rectangles before. Okay. Okay, check looks right. Now the changes, that'll stay the same. Yeah. So I have my mouse somewhere. I just want to say, here's the X position I was at. To scale it, the question is just, how do I... Okay, what I actually want to do is put a +1 there, and then just floor 32, that business. And then say, look, if V accidentally gets too high, V equals high. Kalimian, yeah, the editor is basically great now. I've not restarted it since 3 p.m. It's almost 4:30 p.m. now, so it's behaving a lot now. Now that we are not, I mean, the reason it was misbehaving was just because I was fiddling with low-level keyboard. Oh, don't do that. That is a terrible thing. Now, the other thing is, I think I always want to do this computation. Wait. Yeah, I always want to do this computation now. Yeah, my Visual Studio is getting kind of weird. That is true. Warning, line 174. Conversion from int to real 32. It's worried about these. It's been very kind and warned me that my alert function doesn't work that way. Okay, great. And then down here, it's just a matter of doing one more of these. Copy, paste. Except this adjuster is going to take the level pointer, and it needs to go at least one level, and it can't go more than 14 levels, is what we said. No level field in the param struct. Let's get up the TreeGen file real quick. Levels. Okay, I'll buy it. Levels. That does make more sense. Alright. Let's grow this thing up and there we go. So that's adjusting the levels. So there's one level. Or, yeah, here's 2, 3, 4. Now the question is, how big is each level compared to subsequent levels? And right now they're just linearly, like, all getting the same. Uh-oh. It got too big. This. We'll see about that. Do, 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 do. There we go, it broke. So the problem, is that because there's not enough K? Oh, man. Oh, I didn't think of that. It's that one that's running out first. Okay, let me do a quick bit of math. So the question, yeah, it's 3 to the power of however many levels you have. It would need at least 4,782,969 vertices. Okay, so let's say we don't want to have to do more than 3,000 vertices, or, you know, I still too many, because I have to polygon this stuff, and Kalimian, it wasn't, it's a matter of exponential. It's about an exponential growth factor, because my array of vertices, I set it to 160, and each level is 3 to the power of that level number of vertices. So at the level of 10, for example, that's 59,000 vertices. And that's actually not even true. It's way more than that, because that's counting how many there would be if I didn't have to do the backwards vertices, because it does a vertex that goes forward and then it does another vertex to go back. So it's actually more than that. Let's do the correct math and figure out if I have 160 vertices. Well, what I could do, right, here's where we're doing the output. Luckily, the whole thing only emits vertices in one spot, and that's always a nice thing, is when you can get your code down to a spot where you are only doing your writing in one place, because that makes it easy to bounds check. If k equals vertex count, then break out of the loop right there. Well, that's not what I want to do. Let's see. I just want to do something so I can get the debugger to break, really, is what I want. Okay, so let me get this straight. At the level 5, yeah, 5 levels, we blew it out. At 4 we did not blow it out, and at 5 we did. Okay. Now what we could do, to be a little interesting, is count how far over it's going. And then down here at the bottom, it's just a if overrun is greater than 0. We can actually do the rest of the operation so we'll get a correct count. That'd be nice. Oh, that's right, I could use output debug string. Good idea. Oh, but I'd have to convert an int into a string. I don't feel like it. So whoops. First of all, I don't want you, and I have to rebuild this thing. Never learn. There we go. How much should we overrun by? 83. Okay. Leave that in there. I want to see how high I can push it up and keep getting my count. That's kind of fun. That's kind of funny. Okay, let's see what we are looking at for this level. 2000? What level is this? Come on. Okay, people, interfaces, okay, 7. Interfaces where you have to, like, hover on a rectangle to keep it alive while you're trying to... It's terrible. Even, I don't know if you can see it, because sometimes Twitch doesn't actually show the Visual Studio, like, interfaces, but, like, these drop-down menus, I've never understood why these even exist, because... Okay, so these ones don't do it. Some of them do the thing where you're, like, trying to find something, you get off of it, and it screws up. It looks like they've at least made it static, but it's actually not good, because it's, like, overlapping what you want. I don't understand how people's approach to UI. These are better than the ones I've complained about in the past that disappear when you float off. Somebody would knew what they were doing a little bit. Yeah, it's really weird. I don't know if that's an OBS thing. It's gotta be an OBS thing, right? OBS doesn't pick up the drop downs. So anyways, I'm gonna add 2027, and we're gonna set the param max to, or the level max to 7, and call that or actually to 6. And the reason for that is I don't want to do stick trees forever. Well, we'll set it to 7. We'll set it to 7 on the max. So the max is not 14 at all, it's 7. And the number of vertices that we want to request at the beginning is not 160. It's 160 plus 20. What is it? It's something like 2100. It was a little less than that, but we'll just go with 2100. So 2260. Yeah, I mean, you can see my basic first step into UI world. I did this whole panel thing where the idea is no things ever overlap each other. I mean, you get things where one thing always takes space from somebody else, so this thing gets smaller while this gets bigger, right? But there's never really a need for 2 windows to overlap each other. You never need that flexibility, so why not say that your windows always maximally fill the screen? Okay, so there's the 1 to 7. That's good. What to do? What was I going to do next? Well, let's see if my changes. Actually, what I want to do is start by saying we don't want this around anymore. Save, build it again, run. Alright, so now I'm going to make my tree nice and big and fill it out. So there's a nice looking tree, am I right? We'll get a little bit of that sort of hexagon shape going on. Now they have that like straight line thing going on everywhere right now. So I think it's time to deal with a couple of issues. First, I want to be able to add width to this shape so that it's not a stick tree anymore, but rather the outline of a full tree shape. But I also want to like deregularize this, because everything is, you know, creating these straight lines, and they're all you know, each branching layer should get smaller at a fast rate. Like that maybe is the right size, but then these are too big or something. So I'm trying to decide if I want to add width or if I want to do that. And I guess it doesn't really matter which order I do it in, but I'm really thinking I want to do width first, because that'll make it different than things I've done in the past. Because I've done stick trees before. That is really as far as I've gotten before on this. Yeah, Kernel Dragon, exactly. So right now it's just linearly like it's called decay, and each step the branch size goes like it's half of the previous branch size, but that number needs to get smaller faster. Basically, uh, it's not just a function of multiplication. It's not just a function of this and previous, but rather that each frame, each branch point actually contains two variables for that, one for the decay and one for like the lesser decay that's going to come next time or something like that. I would mess with that. But I want to do this width. This width thing seems interesting. And the question is, how am I going to make that happen? And the number of points is already there to make it happen. Right? I have the right number of points. It's just a matter of knowing how to adjust them correctly as it goes. And that's kind of interesting. Because the adjustment is basically well, let me look at a small tree and say what I think the adjustment has to be to give it width. Yes, that one. Make it bigger. Okay, so to make this a little more tree-like with width, there's 2 points that are down here, and I would need to spread the first one to the left and the last one to the right. Then up here, there's actually 1 point, and then 2 points, 3 points, 4 points, and each of those needs to be spread out a little bit. So to do that is a matter of saying whenever you put a point down, right, you need to know if, where you put the point has an adjusting value, and I have to come up with a function that computes that adjusting value, basically. And that needs to be a function of the state of that like frame on the stack at that time. So that's this part right here. Let's work on that. Back to P equals the position. Okay, and then so I'm going to put a parameter in there for the width or the thickness, which is a radius around the center, and yeah, that should be enough. And then what I need is I need to pick an angle now, and I'm thinking the angle is somehow it's 180 or it's 0 or it's somewhere in between, but it's not that. It's okay, if you take the current theta of the whole thing, and then you do that theta minus 90 and that theta plus 90, something like that. So what I want to do first is down here, instead of actually updating the theta value each frame, I want to just do the work of computing what it should be here. Okay, so it's sort of, what's another good Greek letter that fits epsilon? No. Theta. I'll just call it theta 2. theta 2 theta theta 2, and then how do I compute this? Well, it's a matter of what's the branch count, right? If the branch count is 0, then you subtract d theta 2, or 1 and 2, 0, 1, and 2. Right, okay. So it's sort of like branch count, which is 0, 1, or 2. And if branch max is, okay, so I want to make it general. So if branch max is 3, then the 1 gives you a 0. If the branch max was 2, you wouldn't have a 0 at all. So if it's, whether or not there's an even or an odd number kind of matters. Okay. Branch. No, copy now. Here we go. If branch count modulo to 0, if you have an even number, versus if you have an odd number. So if you have an even number, it's a matter of, say, 2 is your max, so then 0 and 1. 0 is minus half theta, right, so then it's theta 2 equals theta minus d theta times 0.5, which I probably just want to calculate once up top. D theta equals d theta times 0.5. How am I doing on time? 10 minutes. Cool. I'll make this width thing happen, and then we'll call it a day. I don't have to be strict with 5 because Obner isn't streaming at 5 today, which is, you know, really super sad, heartbreaking, because now I don't have anything to do. But what can I do? What can you do about these things? Take branch count times d theta. That's not right. That's only going to work for a 2. Okay. So what I actually want to do has nothing to do with that. So I have to figure out the correct amount to subtract first. And the correct amount is d theta times that's what I thought. Times the number of like open areas you have to do, which is branch max. Yeah, it's actually not this, it's max that I care about. But it's max minus 1 times, okay, if it's going to be times 0.f, I do want half d theta. Oops. Half the theta. Okay, so half the theta times the number of those gives you the starting point, plus the current position times the theta gives you the offset. Cool. Now if it's an odd number, okay, that formula works for odd and even, I think, right? Say I want 3, that's 2 spaces between, times theta divided by 2, yeah, gives me, yeah, okay, so this formula just always works. The whole odd even thing was a distraction. Okay. Alright, so now I'm calculating theta 2. Wait, that's it. That's the whole calculation. Okay. Alright. Sounds good. And then I want to make a new point. Theta 2, yeah, so the rest of that works. Okay, so the point is now the theta always points in the right direction. The central pointing area of the base point. It doesn't turn around. And that's helpful, because that helps me figure out the offset right here that I want to use. Okay, so basically it's going to be another pain in the butt. 0, 1, so it has a branch count of 0 to begin with. Yeah, so if branch max is greater than 0, okay, direction is pointing. Same formula as before, it's just a matter of yeah, it's just a matter of using a different thing other than d theta. So it's 90 degrees and 180 degrees, I want to say. Which means that should really get pulled out into a function someday. And then using that, it's p plus equals polar to Cartesian of theta 2 and BP thickness. And then I just need to set all of the thickness variables correctly. Thickness, okie dokie, that's good. And then the places where I call it, I need to set that. So Just gonna make something up real quick. Kind of want to put that before theta. I'm doing a little bit too much clicking, which means that I really need to fix that navigation thing I talked about last time. Because I don't quite feel comfortable with the control left-right navigation, which is not a good sign. Okay. Function does not take 4 arguments. Line 64. Shoot. Step decay, union thickness is what we need. It's not quite right, because this should have a thickness of 10, which appears to have a thickness of 0. The others actually appear to have a little bit of thickness sometimes, which is kind of interesting. The middle ones don't look like they have any thickness either. Okay. So first of all, why does this produce branch max is 1? So it's 270 minus 0 for the... that's not right. So there's no minus 1 on this one. There's another issue. Huh. Interesting. I'm not totally sure if that's what I'm looking for, but it's interesting. Okay. Well, I'm pretty sure it's not what I'm looking for. So what I want to do is I want to make the thickness sort of do the same thing as the... There. Okay, yeah, so it's doing a couple of funny things. It's connecting... I suspected it was maybe connecting the wrong points, but look at this. What do you know? Alright, so why is it connecting that one to this one, huh? What's the deal there? I think the difference is, it's just about where it's wiggling them to. It should have wiggled this here and this here. And, You hear my dog. He's actually outside and he's complaining because it's a little bit rainy. But, he should be fine. He should be fine for a few minutes. He's not actually getting wet. Okay. Yes, it's an alien tree. Once we have a human tree, we will call it a good day. So I think there's something wrong with this. I think this is just bogus. I think it's not about that. I think it is about theta somehow. It's about taking theta minus 90 degrees and adding in... Okay, this is more correct. That times the... yeah, that last thing I did was just bogus. This is more correct. Branch max. See what that gives us. Oh, looky at this. Now I'm starting to generate a tree-like thing. Starting to get there. There's some interesting issues though, aren't there? Like, why is that smaller in distance than that? That shouldn't be the case, should it? But that's because this thing is rotating, and that's like 180 degrees spread, and those are only, what? $60-degree spread. So, definitely some issues to work out, but I think that we'll be able to work on them next time I pull this thing up. It's starting to be more like what I imagined originally. Oops. Cool. Alright, so anything anyone wants to see before I call it a day, or any questions from the stream chat? Chrono Dragon, I can't do that yet. Chrono Dragon wants to know if I can fill it in solid, and the answer is no, not yet. OpenGL doesn't do convex or concave polygons, so if I do a polygon thing, it would have to be split up into convex triangles, or convex polygons at least, but I'd probably just split it into triangles, and I am not yet going to handle that. I will someday, but for now, I'm just going to get this polygon generation. And technically it's not even generating a polygon because the lines go through each other. So I either have to limit it and say, like, you know, that you have to pick parameters that What was I saying? Canoogles, I don't know what you mean by coding crap in Unity is better with your streams. What are you talking about? I haven't coded anything in Unity. I'm not sure what you're saying, but I will do the polygon fill somehow. Whether it's a matter of breaking those up into individual triangles that do overlap, or some getting actually doing a polygon shape. Because that's not what this is. It's not a polygon unless I make sure nothing overlaps, which I'm sure you're seeing is quite likely with the current rule set. Like, that's a polygon. There we go. Ooh. There's a polygon. Oh, it's so hard. All right, I'll call it a day for today. Thanks for coming out and joining me. See you guys around.